Alrighty, welcome back, boys and girls. It's your main math man, Mr. Shank, coming to you live from Mayfield. And in this video, we're just going to be working on this. Again, this is page 11 from before. And so you want to see it like this. On page 11 is number 11, and it says the following. It says, Julian invested $2,000 at 4% simple interest. How much did his interest accumulate after 1.5 years? And so we're still using that same formula from before. So we're going to have that I equals, and then we have that P times R times T. And we need to be able to find and define what these values mean. So again, we're looking for interest, and so we can leave that be unknown. We are given that principal. Again, that's going to be your starting amount, so that's going to be 2,000. We're going to say our rate. That's always going to be our percentage, but you want to write it as a decimal. So we're going to have that 0.04. We can say our time, always in years, and since it says 1.5 years, you could say 1.5 years. Again, you just plug those values in as follows, and so you'd say, all right, I equals, and we'd say, all right, I use parentheses for multiplication, so I'm going to say 2,000, and I'm going to have times that 0.04, and I have times 1.5. Again, being careful for yourself, any of those values that you have, you multiply that through, and so let's see, I equals, and again, you can pull up that wonderful Desmos calculator for yourself, and that way we know for sure we are good. So let's see, we have our values. Let's see, I have I equals, and then P times R times T. I have P equals, we have 2,000. Again, you can type this with me on your own. It's also, the mobile app is on the iOS or Apple Store under that scientific calculator. It is also found on the students' website on that Rocket Grant homepage. And so as long as you define what your values are, again, being sure not to use any commas at any point, because we want to make sure that we are just plugging in those numerical values. So for instance, for this one, again, you could say that our interest then is going to be $120. All right, so we found the interest, and then it says in the next one right over, so these two numbers, or these two problems I should say, go together. It says, how much is Julian's investment worth after 1.5 years? And so it's talking about the balance. So you're trying to find that balance after 100 years, after 1.5 years. So let's find this. We're saying our balance is going to be equal to that principal plus the amount of interest. And so again, you can just plug those numbers in, since we have both of them now. So you could say, all right, I have 2,000 plus my 120 that we just found, and it should equal that $2,120. And so when you went to check how much you still owe after, or excuse me, since he invested, this is how much he's now he has in total. So he started with 2,000, and now he has in total that $2,120. And so again, you can use your Desmos like this. You could say, all right, B equals, we said it's our principal plus our interest, and just like that, it's solved. So that was number 11 and 12. So now let's see, I can have, for this next one, it says, what is the principal if the interest is earned at, or the interest earned is $27 at a rate, always that percentage, 1.5% for 2 years. All right, so let's set this up. We said, and I already lost my pen. I guess it's gone forever. Oh, that's okay. We have this. We said, all right, we had our formula for this. We're going to say, all right, our principal is going to be equal to, again, these were in our notes, and so we said our principal is going to be equal to, well, let's see, we have our interest, and then it's divided by whatever other variables we do have. So we have the rate and we have the time. All right, so let's clear out this Desmos calculator for ourselves and maybe get some of these values in here. So we have, again, we're looking for principal, and so this is what we're going to now plug in. So we're going to say, all right, I have my interest. Well, that's going to be $27. We said our principal is the interest divided by, and it has our rate times our time. Our rate as a decimal, be careful to switch that from a percent to a decimal by divided by 100, and say you just type in your calculator 1.5 divided by 100. Again, that's going to be our 0.015, and our time is 2 years, so we'd say 2. And so now, and that makes sense too, because usually your interest is going to be a smaller number, not always, but usually your interest is going to be a smaller number, than your principal. And so, if I have my pen wherever, oh, there, of course it's attached right there the whole time, that's okay. So for example, again, you would write like this. Maybe say you want to do the normalize, so you could say, all right, I know my interest is going to be equal to $27. I know my principal is going to be what we're looking for. The rate is that 0.015, and the time we said is 2 years. So now again, we plug in our values for our variables, and so we say, all right, this is going to be 27 over, and then we have that decimal 0.015. We have our time, which is 2, and again, we can multiply in the bottom first. So let's see, let me hit enter on this. So let's do that 0.015 times the 2. And so on the bottom here, so let's write on the bottom, we'd say, I already lost my place, there it is. So we said, all right, 27 over that 0.03, and so you could say, all right, I have 27 divided by that 0.03, well, that's still our same answer as 900. Again, either way, you know you are good. So we said in total then, our principal, meaning our starting amount, is going to be that $900. Again, make sure that you're kind of seeing how this is working. All I'm doing is I'm using those formulas that I'm given, plugging in my variables, and simplifying. Again, if you can multiply those numbers correctly and divide maybe once or twice, you know you're good. Alright, so now in the last one, however, it says this. Let me clear this out a little bit for us. Alright, so it says, how long will it take you, not me, but you, an interest of $45.60 when you borrowed the initial amount of $2,400, and then it has that rate in there. So let's go ahead and kind of set this up. So again, we're saying, since it's saying how long, so what does that mean? So when it says how long, we're now looking to solve for time, and so you want to say, all right, t is going to be equal to, and it has our interest over, and then what other values or variables are given? Well, we have our principal and we have our rate. Alright, so let's plug in these values as follows. And so we could say, alright, we have something like this. We could say Ri is going to be equal to 4560. 4560. We have our principal, again, is 2,400. The rate, again, make sure you change that to a decimal for yourself. And so you'd say, all right, I have that 0.038. And again, we're looking for time, so we leave that be unknown. All right, so now let's see. Let's see if we can plug in these values for ourselves. Again, I'll do both ways just to, honestly, just to show off. So let's say I have, this is equal to, and I have $45.60. Again, that's gonna be over those two numbers multiplied together. So I have it like this. Again, making sure I'm using those values, again, directly next to you is what you have. And so let's see, all right, if we multiply together, so I have, in my denominators where I'm working first in this problem, so I have 2,400, and that's going to be times that 0.038. All right, so in the bottom here, I have that, let's say I have 4560, and let's see, I have over, and that's going to be 9120. And so I can already make a prediction. I'm saying since I'm going to have, since my numerator is a smaller number, I can make a prediction. I know that I'm going to have a part of a number. So let's say I'm not going to have a whole number necessarily. I'm going to have a part of a number. So again, this is time. So all right, let's see. Let's make a new line, and let's say that 4560, and let's divide it by that previous answer we had. And so yes, it will take half a year, and so just as long as it did to take this problem, we'd say it takes 0.5 years, or you could say again, that's 6 months, just like the warm-up had. Again, you can always double check your work like this. You could say your values are like this. You say t is equal to, and let's say we have interest divided by principal times rate. We have our interest is as follows: our principal and our rate. Again, just using the values that you're given and making sure that you can plug them in carefully. It calculates it for you, and you're good. Again, always being sure you can double, triple, and maybe even quadruple check your answers so you know you're good. Again, please, as always, make sure you are double checking your work, asking questions, press that pause button, hit F for full screen, press F for respects, super slam that subscribe button, and you're good.